28th, I gotta look up here to remember, November 28th, 2018 meeting of the Rotary Club of Sebastopol Sunrise. And just for your listening pleasure, I have on the audio right now, Santa lost his hoe. Oh! I love this song. So this is the Christmas Chug Band down out of Greenbelt, Bill Valley. Okay, all right, Jim. Oh, so
I'm Jim Glom.
You're Jim Glom.
Hi, Jim.
Face the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jerry.
Standing in, Richard Evers!
Hey, ho, ho.
Morning, Marty.
pretty much.
Looking over my head.
Joseph, why don't we leave them all in song? While they're together. Oh, I see Dan yonder. Dan yonder. He's a Swedish guy, Dan yonder. Welcome, Dan yonder.
All right, you already started the season, so we'll continue.
Yes.
We should dash through the snow. You ready?
Hello.
Dashing through the snow with the one-horse open sleigh. Over the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing our sleigh song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
That's Joe. Thanks to my team, Lori and Marty. Lori and Marty. Joe and Marty. Thanking our interns, Scott and Al. Did Al make it? Adonde. Nice to see you, Al. Thought du jour, Gail.
Good morning. Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, and no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech. Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, yeah, the guy that relaxed in Paris.
Now, did he tell you that before he passed?
Visiting Rotarian, Lori.
But he told Bruce. He told Bruce.
No visiting Rotarian.
No. Do we have any guests?
Yes.
We do, in fact, I guess Bob may have a thing or two to say.
It's my pleasure to introduce Addison Smith, who is not only our student of the month, but on the high honor roll over at
Welcome, Addison.
her friend Becky Shapley, Ian Sophie, and of course Lindsay Apkarian, principal at Lagunas.
Very good. Very good. Any other visitors? We have a visitor that Charlie would like to announce. And thank you, by the way, and thank you, Bob, for arranging on as you have to be here today.
Let me introduce Robert Corrick, our speaker today. Robert is a horticulturist, and I'll tell you more at 8 o'clock.
Morning, Robert. Indeed. Any other guests? All right. Student of the month. Can we do that, Bob? And Wayne. we're just delighted. This is one of our favorite things, and take it away.
Well, thank you. Good morning, everybody. We have this young lady here, Addison Smith, who is, I think, a sophomore at Laguna High School. She's maybe interested in eventually transferring over to Annalee or El Molino or someplace like that. She likes writing and math and history. Wow, what a combination. And she's going to tell us a little bit about herself and what she likes to do.
Hi, I'm Addison.
Morning, Addison.
My name's Addison Smith. This is my first year at Laguna High School. I'm a sophomore. I love English, history, and math a lot. When I get older, I want to be a mental health worker because I really am passionate about mental health. I've had MHWs in my past inspire me to be a light to people who are sick, and that's what I really want to do. I really like Laguna a lot. It's helped me, and I really hope it's really influenced me, and I'm glad I moved to Laguna because it's been a really good help to me with my credits. Yeah, and I really appreciate getting this award. It means a lot to me. It makes me feel good about myself. Yeah, and I really like it a lot. Thank you so much.
Right on, Addison.
Don't run away, we got some stuff for you here. Well, you've done such a wonderful job. Here's a beautiful plaque for you to hang on your wall. And it says, Addison Smith is Student of the Month for your exemplary demonstration of respect, responsibility, and rigor. So what a wonderful job you've done. And just to go along with that, we got a little bit of cash here. Don't spend it all in one place. And we hope you the best. Thank you very much for doing such a great job.
Thank you so much, Bob and Wayne and Addison.
Mr. President, you notice how seamless the mic is again because the A-team is back here.
Yes, indeed. That's what I'm talking about.
Proud to have you at our table, Marty. Proud.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, let's see. What do we got? Who's who? Who am I? Summer, dearest Summer, we're so glad that you have come back to our club. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your life and profession and so forth?
Good morning.
Vocational moments.
Good morning. So Brian gave me a great suggestion on how to wrap up my life in 5 minutes by walking through yesterday. So yesterday I got up at 4:50 by choice. Sort of. I usually try to get up by 5, but 4:50 because the lights outside went on. That lets me know that the feral cat that has adopted me, my food friend, is ready for breakfast. So get up, feed feral cat, feed the other 2 kitties in the house, and get the decaf coffee going, turn on the Instant Pot with the steel cut oats, nuts, fruit, decaf. And then grab my meditation cushion and sit and meditate for 20 minutes. After that, pop in the shower, enjoy the breakfast. What did I do? Then I went upstairs, did some QuickBooks Online accounting for a local cannabis attorney that I love and adore. I love and adore not because I'm a cannabis user, totally respect those that do, but because he's following his passion. And so my role is that I want my life to be to find my purpose and live and love that purpose, and to share my life with those that also follow that methodology. Oh, my heart's beating a little bit. So I did a little QuickBooks Online, then popped in the car, headed to Santa Rosa for a Sonoma County mental health meeting to help support one of my newer clients, SOS Community Counseling. So they provide mental health services in high schools, in their local clinics, and they help new therapists to acquire the hours needed to get their licensure while also helping the community and especially the teens in the high school. Popped back home, did a little more QuickBooks Online for sandblasting company and a local real estate agent. Closed up shop, headed over to Riverbed Yoga in Guerneville where I taught a yoga class. I seem to have a following for folks that are working through PTSD, anxiety, and ongoing stress.
That's me.
And I guess that's the fun part, is that I realized that when I was 14 months old, I encountered an experience, a traumatic experience, that has forever encapsulated my life. And I went through yoga teacher training, 2 of them, a couple years ago, and just through, they say, find your voice. And what I found is that not through force, that just through, like reverse osmosis or just intrinsically, I want to teach those people to know that they have a choice and that they're perfectly imperfect. And somehow the type A accountant in me can switch over to the stretchy yoga pants and help people feel good about themselves. And at the same time, teaching yoga is such a part of my own spiritual experience. You never walk away teaching yoga and feel bad. It's, they say thank you, but really it's thank you to coming and sharing your experience and your love for yourself, or just helping people unlock their joy, because there's so much sadness and hardness in today's life, especially with the fires and recurring fires and everything else that we layer on to each other or on ourselves. And so it's just a beautiful experience. I pop back, I feed little outdoor kitty cat, a little food for the skunks, because I learned that skunks eat the larvae so the yellow jackets go away. So love the skunks. And pop back upstairs, make some dinner, greet said UPS husband home from his, peak. Now he's in his harvest of package season. A little private yoga session for myself, some studying about how to heal yourself from trauma through yoga, because I learned I'm fascinated with trauma books right now, because about how trauma is not just in the head, but it's also in the muscles, and so you have to move beyond talk therapy, but truly through movement. Oh, and that also brings me to the book I was reading was referred to a company in Oakland called Niroga. And Niroga, I'm currently an ambassador, and I'm hoping to push it to a project manager. Niroga offers what they call transition, TLS. They offer life skills, essentially yoga and meditation, to schools, a lot of inner city schools in Oakland, San Francisco Bay Area, Alameda County. And what they found is that if the kids come in and their minds are frazzled and stressed and everything that they going on in their homes and their lives, they can't sit down and focus. How can you expect a kid that has all this stuff going on to sit and focus? And so they found that by doing a 15-minute breath practice, with some simple movements, it really helps to get the kids back in their body so they can sit and focus. Attendance is strong, the bullying rates are down, grades are going up, and they found me through accounting and are now transitioning to accounting yoga experience. Then wash my face, brush my teeth, and I'm in bed at 9 o'clock, and that's me.
Here, here. Thank you so much. Marty, listening to you talk, Summer, it brings to mind the relationship and the sort of similarities between what you do and what a lot of healthcare professionals do, sort of the healing arts, And Michael, I'm going to ask for someone to refer me to a really excellent chiropractor in the area, and I want Michael to ding me $10 for this. Okay, this is important. You can come up to me after the meeting. I need the name of a good chiropractor in the area. $10.
Consider yourself dinged.
Ding. Okay, so let's see. You be the judge. This is kind of interesting. Arbitration clauses, right? We have a constitutional right to a jury trial. under the 7th Amendment of the United States Constitution. In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of jury trial by jury shall be preserved. Right? Well, wrong. Okay, so there's arbitration clauses that are inserted into a lot of contracts, a lot of consumer contracts, and the argument is they save money and reduce disputes and so forth and so on. And, you know, there's an argument to be made on both sides of the thing, but caveat emptor, buyer beware. You have these arbitration clauses and stuck in everything, in mailers from banks and so forth and so on. So check it out. There you go. Jerry. So you can use this fancy thing here, Jerry, to explicate.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. So, you know, we're still working on getting other clubs and people involved with supporting our project to raise money for the grant for the water harvesting at Iluya School in Tanzania. And I think Louis gave me the idea, but about connecting the kids here at our Interact Club with the students at the school. So I got them involved, and yesterday I met with the kids at the Interact Club, and they just loved coming. There were 67 kids that came to the meeting yesterday. They went through 8 boxes of pizza in about 30 seconds. It was unbelievable.
The payoff.
And so the kids at the school have sent some pictures here, and another scene of the rest of the 67 here. And this is a boarding school. It's a Lutheran-based. The religious groups in East Africa sponsor a lot of schools because the governments there, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, the governments can't afford to provide quality education. So the religious schools come in. But anyway, there's about 650 kids at the school. And we're going to, if we raise enough money, and the kids at El Molino came up with an idea that, you know, they're thinking about a fundraiser for it. And I created a Google group so that the kids there and the kids here can share pictures and stories and get to know each other. I think that'll be a really great thing.
Is that, so that's the last slide. Is that the school there in Tanzania?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, they sent some pictures of the school. Oh, all right. Anyway, so my goal is to get the kids at El Molino to sign up for the Google group, and then they can start sharing emails. Anyway, it's I think a great thing for kids to, you know, even if the money doesn't come through from them, that's secondary. The main thing is to share cultural experiences. All you have to do is look at the pictures of the kids there and the kids here, you know, to know that there's a little bit of a cultural difference between the two countries.
All right, Jerry. Okay, Mike, custodian. A-team. I love it. All right. So what do we got? Birthdays and I missed something?
Another 10 bucks.
I think that's another 10 bucks.
Another $10.
From Marty?
No. Let's see. Okay, so Jerry, 11:30.
All right, well,
What you be doing?
Friday, if it's not raining, I'll probably go out for a bike ride and then maybe look for some birds to take photographs of some birds, maybe. And
Great.
yeah,
You know, I don't know that we have seen your slides from your most recent trip with the India. You went someplace out of the country, but Jerry takes great pictures, and I'd love to. We'll talk about doing some sort of presentation.
I got some great bird pictures.
Great bird pictures. Who else? Wayne, a member anniversary, 1129 times 18. And I'll tell you what's curious is Terry has the same induction date, but we'll
It was
wait.
a great day in this club.
Well, it
I don't
seems
know
like
what
yesterday.
happened. I don't know. Go ahead.
We're in the morning right after that.
We had a lineup and sign-up day.
Line up and sign up.
18 years, wow. I kind of remember Terry.
I remember Lincoln.
Yeah, you
Well,
can remember?
Yeah. And I think, wasn't Larry Petrobone about the same time too, something like that?
Yeah, right before you. I'm like November 8th, I think.
Oh, okay.
He sold last week.
Yeah, well, what a long time, what an adventure, huh?
It has.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff come up.
Roller coaster. No, it's
What are
been
you
great.
talking about?
I mean, we have like Matt, you know, that comes in and does all kinds of crazy things. He keeps us away. Summer does some fantastic things. Isn't that wonderful? That was a great talk, Summer. I loved it.
Yeah.
Anyhow, thank you all. It's a great place. Wonderful people, good things we do everywhere.
How about you, Terry, now?
What he said.
What he said, what he said.
Ditto.
Times 18, so that would be 2,000 by my count.
Dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that called, a millennial year? 2000. That was the year where everything was supposed to go away and the world was supposed to come to an end.
Yeah.
So announcements, November 29th is the Scar Petaluma Women's Club. December 5th is a club business meeting. And I want Michael Cook to say a little bit something after that, after we get through this screen. December 7th, the first Friday at Scott's Place, we are at RSVP. December 25th, the holiday dinner. Is Kathy about? No, but we'll come back to that. December 26th, no meeting. January 2nd, no meeting. January 4th, first Friday, I think. And March 23rd, Rites of Spring. Yes, Michael!
I would just like to remind everybody on the branding committee that we have a meeting at 1:30 this Friday at the Dune Club.
Michael, could you say a thing about the club business meeting, if you would?
Yeah, so last night there was a big meeting, like big pizza, and Elaine was kind enough to make brownies. So how many people do you think came to this meeting?
20.
How many?
20.
Too many. So of the 50 people who were invited, one person joined us, which would be Summer Moore.
Hey, Summer, hey.
But the problem is, when we need to have a discussion in order to come settle on some things, to end up with an event that we'll all be happy to be inviting our friends and family to, we need more than 3 people. So if you think that there is a committee somewhere that you're not on that's taking care of this event, so all you got to do is show up the day of and do some setup and tear down, you're wrong.
It was raining.
Gosh,
I didn't expect to cast of thousands, but I'm saying the turnout was a little low. So
It was raining in the driveway.
on the good side, many people have said, yeah, I want to help, and they'll help with planning as well as the day of. And so by unanimous consent, the people there last night selected December 13th, which is a Thursday. Because some people were telling me Tuesday, they can't do that. So we're trying Thursday. And we need a location that's convenient and in town that can hold maybe 10 people. I think there's a couple options. So we'll be sending an invite with the location and we'll move ahead. So we need to settle on some things like the theme. You know, do we continue with the Greek or do we do something else? And if so, what is that exactly? So how do we end up with an event that you're going to be excited to have people come? People you know and like, hopefully. We'll tell you about it if the event goes well. So that's what we're looking forward to putting together.
What's the big news?
That's what?
What's the big news for the event? Anything special going on there?
Entertainment.
Well, on the entertainment front, we have a couple of things, but one headliner is the Transcendence Theater Company has agreed to participate in this, and exactly what we want them to do, and all that needs to be fleshed out, but they've committed to being there. So they're professional entertainers, they do song and dance, so that's exciting. That helps, that's a draw. We also need people who are expecting just to have some fun and participate in a live auction and things like that, so we need a lot of help.
Thank you, Michael. Was there also something you want to mention about next week's business meeting, or?
Yes, on a completely different subject. So there's a group which consists of the immediate past presidents, the 5 past presidents who are still available to the club. They're the nominating committee for the board of directors. So we've been working away for the last couple of months, and we have a roster of board of directors to present at the next meeting. You'll have an opportunity if you want to nominate someone from the floor, which almost never happens, but it could. The door will be open, so be thinking about that. And we'll be presenting the board of directors for your vote up or down. So, result of the nominating committee.
Very good, Michael. Thank you very much for that important announcement. Martin?
Yes, Mr. President.
Turn it off. I didn't touch it. I didn't do it.
Anyway, 2 things. Number 1, I had Michael try to.
You got a microphone.
I couldn't open it.
What's the thing in your hand?
Hello? It's not on. So, the thing is, I'm going to ask Michael to send out to you a request from Mr. Guerrero, who's the principal of Anderson High School. He's holding a business forum breakfast for people in business in Sebastopol. And I'm going to send that out to all of you once we get the thing sent to me in PDF form. Michael and I couldn't open it in Google Documents for some reason. Okay, the second thing is I want to remind everybody, of course, we have Scott's party on the December 7th, but also you're all invited, as you know, to my personal the Webb family party on Sunday, December 16th. Drop in anytime between 1 and 5:30. And maybe I can talk the president into running the martini bar again. But we'll see.
Oh, twist my arm. So a couple of things very quickly here. I want to welcome back Dan Needham, and I also want to welcome back Gail. And Dan, so nice to have you back. And I'm not even going to ask what happened. You can advise us as you wish.
The only thing I'll advise you is if you ever need a team of doctors, take it.
Yes, take the team of doctors.
And I was glad to see those 18-year members, because that was the year I was president when Terry joined and Wayne joined and Larry. I don't take credit for that. That goes to Frank Bardella. Frank Bardella was the membership chairman that year. I think he got 13 or 21 new members. Yeah. Frank, here's to Frank.
Hey, you know,
it's good to be back. Thank you very much.
Dan, it's awesome to have you back, and it's so awesome to have you back that I am going to $10. And Gail, it's great to have you back. Can you tell us a little bit about your adventure, if you'd like? But it's nice to have you back.
I'll see if I can get up. Well, thank you. It's really great to be back. I had my knee replaced in September, and I'm walking. And I'm walking without a cane. So that's a great thing, and I expect to be back from here on out. Thank you.
Dearest Gail, and I'm so delighted to also levy you with a minimal recognition fee of $10.
Gail, you sure you don't want that cane back?
I didn't hear that. It's good that my hearing doesn't work. See, I'm writing this down. Holiday dinner. Anything to mention about the holiday? I know, Kathy. Oh, I'm back on. Anything to mention, Michael?
Just that the sign-up sheet went out on an electronic form, so we're doing it again on sign up or whatever the hell the site is.
Whatever the hell.
But so it went out. I also sent it out to the Noon Club, and they're eager to participate again this year. So by all means, sign up, or you won't be able to.
Right on. Thank you, Michael. So Peace Pool, can anyone talk about this? Jim was going to talk about it. Oh, maybe I don't see him here. anyone in the know about this, but it's, Michael, go ahead. A wonderful thing here that we've done. I just love this.
So it's outside of Screaming Mimi's.
Yes, indeed.
It's been a project that Community Services has been working on for a long time. Wayne is primarily responsible for having it been created. The peace pole itself is a 4x4 that came from Sturgeon's Mills, which we thought was kind of symbolic and a nice thing to do. Carol Watanabe did the actual painting of it, is my understanding. And it's beautiful. It really looks nice down there. I think it's something we should be proud of, Wayne.
One thing about that,
So the lettering and everything was cut on the CNC at Laguna. We purchased Laguna High School a CNC router a few years ago with a grant, and we did the lettering there on that piece of pole.
Hey. So
we're also looking at trying to figure out a way that we could produce a number of these relatively inexpensively and sell them as a fundraiser, with some of the money going to us and some of the money going to the art classes that would help create it. So working on that.
So this is another example of the plaques and other things that you find around the town that we are responsible for, or that sort of plant our flag in the town. As I mentioned, the plaque on the post office and the plaque on the plaque on the stage at Ives Park, etc. So, Rotary Fire Relief, Terry talked a little bit about getting something together. Barbara Varney points out that to donate directly to this Paradise Rotary Foundation, all you have to do is return the lot.
DJ, he can brand.
Check. All you have to do to donate to the Paradise Rotary Foundation is actually go to the Rotary Club of Paradise's website. You click through and you can donate, so it's that easy. And this one in San Luis happens to be for the fire down Thousand Oaks in northern LA County, so and southern Ventura County. So go figure. Speaker, Robert, Charlie, you want to introduce Robert? We're delighted to have Robert, and there needs to be a transition of computer. This is, by the way, this thing you want to try. Well, you got your.
While Robert is switching over, I will say a few words. But first, this is what Linda Hopkins had to say about Robert before she became supervisor. There are few people in the county, or really the country, who can lay claim to the groundwater guru. And there's only one Sonoma County resident who earned that title in the 1980s before most of the country even knew what gray water was. Such is the story of local author, landscape consultant, and horticultural researcher. In person, Kurt comes across as an earth-oriented Einstein, wispy white hair, mustache, bright eyes. His face lights up with a keen intelligence when discussing lavender, edible landscaping, gray water, and drip irrigation. All subjects on which he's published books that are considered definitive works in their respective fields, and all subjects which are in some way related if one approaches them with an ecological mindset, as Corey tends to do. And I thought he had written 13 books. He updated me this morning. He's now up to 16. Is this your most recent book, Understanding Roots? And he brought this along as a raffle prize today. But I also wanted to mention, since I go way back, in the drought of the 1977 and 78, there was a lot of kind of uninformed enthusiasm about harvesting gray water for garden use. And Jerry told me this morning he remembers Dr. Robert Holzer, who was the public health officer at the time, who was not into that, and who was quoted in the Press Democrat saying that we have plumbing codes for a reason, and people who tamper with the plumbing under their house should be prepared to be prosecuted. So, Robert in his early days was a criminal. And when I'm happy to report that sometimes pioneers just do it anyway, and that's what Robert did. So his memoir, I'm hoping he will title it My Life from Criminal to Guru in gray water. But it's a lot more than gray water, and here you go.
All right, Robert.
Is it working? Yes, great. It's wonderful to be here. I would like to mention that I have a lot of subjects I can talk about, but I decided to make it fun today, eccentric gardens, nothing educational. Now, I'm not going to read this. What's the worst thing that happens when you go to a PowerPoint? The guy stands up there and reads everything that's on the screen. But the point of this is I'm going through 10 ways that come down to number one, the best way to have an eccentric garden. And we're going to start with number 4. This is based on an article I did for the New York Times. So if you want to go back about 15 years, you can see all 10 points. This is not how I make my books. But this is a garden here in Sebastopol by 2 people who are highly secretive about their garden for some reason, so I can't mention even their names. This is me at the end of a day, a long day of writing. I hope it's not the end of the bookkeeping day. And they started with a lot of structure, a lot of things. I'm going to go from hardscape, so to speak, things to eccentric gardens that are based on plants only, not stuff. But they've been to the flea market a lot. Some gets a lot more abstract than the previous slide. And when you look at eccentric gardens over the last 30, 40 years, bowling balls show up everywhere. For some reason, they're a special element in the landscape. There's one woman in Berkeley that has over 30 of them, and she did that about 45 years ago. These balls are 3 feet in diameter. And we've got our chipmunk crossing. And the structure on the left is for the birds. That's all kinds of yarn for the birds to make nests with. So they have a practical aspect to the garden as well. And then they've taken a few things that the weather, the climate has added a little bit of benefit to the eccentric nature. Okay, now number 3, get inspired. And like a good comedian, you put 2 things together that didn't seem to be together before. So we've taken a few elements here. Barbie comes to mind. This is a guy in southern England. He lived in the very southern coast of England where there was a lot of stuff put in the water for the war to stop ships. And all kinds of detritus is washing up on the shore. And he constructed a landscape featuring the metal parts that washed up from the shore, as well as you can see the wooden. See, this doesn't show up on the TV, does it? Interesting. So this is a metal part. They used a lot of structures under the water to stop the submarines, and those parts came floating up. He died early on, but what's fascinating is the people that bought the property maintained the garden exactly the way he did, which is very, very rare, any garden. And I don't know if you can see, but there's a glove, and I don't know if if he's dying down or grazing up. But he did die of AIDS at an early age, but he had plenty of time to do this garden before that happened. Then we have Gaudi, who did things on a massive scale. This is in Barcelona, and he utilized the image of palm trees, as you can see on the left, reflected into the structure that he built. This is my favorite part of the Barcelona gardens, the large structure that it's almost impossible to take a photograph without a person in it. But I was there in December, I got lucky. This is a house that's ugly, right? It's an ugly house, but it's a house that the cement contractor wanted to do everything in concrete. And this is his approach to using concrete for a house. It's fireproof, not earthquake-proof, though. This is in St. Louis. Then I found a place in England called the Storm Memorial in the town of Eye. And what they did is they had a massive windstorm. It destroyed a lot of trees, snapped trees off at 2-3 foot diameter. And they decided, well, we won't clear the forest, we'll release a bunch of artists into the forest. So they put a lot of artists out there, and they came up with lots of different things. This is a way that you can get the color out of a willow. You cut it back every year, and the new growth has that wonderful bright color, in this case green. They did a hillside. It doesn't show at this time of year, but every single circle, those are circles going up the hill, is a different willow with a different color to that growth, including as dramatic as purple. And then they made a lot of structures using willow that were for people to hide out in or to relax. In this case, the willow was wrapped around, and the stuff that was stuck in the ground sprouted. This is the ceiling of that same structure. This looks like a mess, but it's a living room, a dome, with trees that are sculpted together so that the branches are joined together and form a dome. This is one approach to an artist that took over a pond in the forest. Now we get into Ivan Hicks. This is a simple way he started, but he got more involved as he got working in his garden. Here we have some willows that will eventually grow together as one trunk mass. But he had a lot of other stuff going on in his garden. In this case, it's a window through a copper beech tree. The beech tree, you can see the square opening. Beech trees tend to be 40 to 80 feet tall, so he had to work a little bit to keep this down to size. This is his garden again, a few different things that people don't normally see in a garden. And he did this topiary, hedges. He said, I just let the hedge tell me which direction to go. So he didn't come up with a formal symmetry. He came up with a topiary that wanders all around and even goes up the trunk of a tree. This is out at Laguna Farm. I don't know who did it, but I know that it's a wonderful place for kids to wander through the garden at the Laguna Foundation. This is at an estate over in St. Helena, and these are sycamore trees trained what they call pollarding. You see that a lot of times in the winter, the fists that certain trees have. What they've done is they've moved that horizontally, so the fists form a horizontal structure and a very distinctive pattern of shadow. They're trained by cutting back to those fists every year, completely back to the fist, and so that the fist gets bigger and bigger as it gets older. And then what you have is a tremendous amount of shade in the summer when these fists all leaf out with 5, 6, 8, 12 shoots. In a few cases, the trees are joined together. What's fascinating about this place is they have all this structure holding up the sycamores. If they grafted them all together like that, they wouldn't need the iron. they could support the whole structure with just the tree. But they decided to go with the iron. This is a famous Jinx, Mr. Jinx in Wales. He's a very eccentric architect, and he has discussions and ideas behind his artwork, his landscape, that I can't possibly explain. But this has something to do with the wave pattern of light coming through the universe. Try and figure that out. But he has I had to be there in the rain, so the slides are not as great, but you can see the massive earth mounds he built. And you can see in that earth mound there is a trail that goes up, and you walk on that trail, it feels like you're walking downhill when you're actually going uphill. This guy inherited billions of dollars from his wife's estate when she died, and this became his personal fascination. There's the pathways. A little bit of tractor work. So finally we get down to follow your passion. And here's a guy in Bakersfield I ran across early one morning, and he's taken his sycamores and joined them all together. So now we're into the section where it's only plant material that provides the eccentric garden. And there's a small version of this on the way to Pingrove, but this is the biggest one I've ever seen by an unknown person. In other words, not knowing if they're a horticulturalist or not. This is one we worked on in Occidental with a friend. We wanted to do the old-fashioned playground. I don't know how many remember those. They were cubes, right? They don't make them that way anymore. They're too dangerous, right? You're gonna fall and crack your head. So, what we're gonna do is, we started this project when the kid was born, thinking we'll get it done at a time where he can climb up the playground. Well, we never got that far. It took much, much longer. Then he grew up to be too big to want to grow up. But we use a method called pleaching, where you take two stems of, in this case, sycamores, and you scar them, and then you wrap the scars together, and in 1 to 2 months they graft. Whereas many people, like the previous guy, he's joined his together and tied them together, and it takes decades for them to grow together. But we got our stuff to grow together in 1 month. And there's one of the horizontal structures. There's after you take the tape off, that's 2 months old in the summer. And so you have a living structure horizontally. And then you take a horizontal shoot and run it past a vertical shoot, do that same scratching thing, and now you've got a vertical and horizontal joined together as a living unit. Then we even made supports. So we took a single stick, we did this in the winter, and we grafted it into the vertical shoot on the left, and then grafted it into the curved shoot on the right, so we formed a buttress to be able to walk up the playground. And there he is. I don't know if you can see him, but he's up. My friend is up there working on it. It's not a kid climbing it. He's working on a ladder. We got this far, about 12 feet, and we found out that we should have done it in slower progression, because by the time we got to 12 feet, the horizontals were very big, but the ones at the bottom were very small. They withered because of the dominance of the foliage up above. This is a place down in LA. It was done by the WPA. It's all living together as one structure. They used a rebar support to get it going, and abandoned it decades ago so that the trees grew over and around the bar. Now we get down to the best example of eccentric garden done with plants. Axel Erlandson, outside of Santa Cruz, spent his whole life grafting trees into unusual shapes Nobody has ever done what he's done. I'll show you some examples that have never been replicated. He worked behind a curtain, so even his daughter has no idea how he did it. This one is pretty easy to see how it could be done. Two trees are bent over and they're grafted together where they meet. But what's remarkable about this, it's almost impossible. It's impossible for me and for many people I know to get such an even diameter on both sides of the arch. Usually one tree overgrows the other. Then you can see he started to do some other stuff. The simple zigzag lightning bolt. In the background to the left of that, you can see 4 legs. Did this go out? No, there we go. 4 legs. You got more complicated still. We'll see a close-up of another version of this technique. Got pretty fancy. And look in the background, there's a ladder. And I missed out on an opportunity, but a woman was there with me and she climbed the ladder. This one's simpler than the others, but again, he got a fairly even diameter on the left and right side. There's the 8 meter. This one is remarkable. The wood goes up, comes back down, and then goes back up again. And it's all the same diameter. And they're grafted together so that they meet in the middle to make one vertical trunk. This is the kind of thing that he did that nobody's duplicated since the 50s. This is one of the most remarkable one again because it's so precise and it's so even in its diameters. There's everybody who does living stuff tries to do a chair. It seems to be the ultimate goal is to find out how to make a chair. Well, his chair didn't quite make it 40 years. Now this is a picture of, see the box? They started boxing these up because the place got abandoned. It was called the tree circus and it cost you $1 to wander through all the trees. Then he died and the family wasn't interested in keeping up the tree circus. Some people came in to maintain the trees on their own volunteer basis, but it was going to become light industry building. So they worked for, I think it was almost 5 years to figure out how to move these things and save as many of them as they could. So they even boxed up the far left. Some were left behind. This one actually at one time was housing for a homeless person. They got moved to a place in Gilroy called the Gilroy Gardens. And this is how you can see them today in display, some of the ones that they did. Yeah.
What kind of trees are they? Are they all
He did everything from persimmons to liquid amber to poplars to willows. Even the loquat tree, I've done a lot of sycamores. Sycamores are very easy to work with, and the willows are very fast. You get a quick growth to see what's happening. And then the last one is you ignore everything I just said. They say I'm supposed to have a question period, but I don't know if there's any questions about
I think that's a
eccentricity.
good idea. Questions?
You all want to be eccentric or not? You got to be normal? Everybody gonna, how many people want to be eccentric? Okay.
There's Al.
What style of grafting is generally done in putting branches together?
Well, the one that I did where they approach together, and it's called pleaching, is the name. But when we do other types of grafting, we do cleft grafting in the winter where you add a piece of wood on top of its root. That's normally done for fruit trees. So the piece of wood you add is called a scion, S-C-I-O-N. And you graft that into the rootstock with a cleft graft, and you get the variety that you want to eat with the kind of root that's good for your soil. And there's tea budding where you take, in the summer, you take an actual individual bud off of a shoot and graft it into a stem, and you can get then a variety. So like at my place in Occidental, I had 8 varieties of apples on one tree. So I didn't get a lot of apples. I didn't come home and find 300 pounds of Ravensteins and feel guilty about letting them rot. I had 5-10 pounds 8 times a year. So I could eat through the seasons and not worry about canning. That was good for me.
One of the things that we did last year is we wanted a cherry tree. And we wanted the Rainier cherries, but it needs a pollinator. So you can actually buy them with the pollinator grafted onto the same tree,
Right.
which is kind of handy, you know.
Same thing with apples. When you got 8 varieties, you can get the pollination that
Yeah.
you need. And they do now sell more and more of these trees with multiple grafts. Again, you have to be careful because one graft will be a lot more spindly than other grafts.
Where was that tree service located, the original location?
Oh, he actually started experimenting out in the Central Valley and moved a couple of trees when they're young to, when you come from Santa Cruz over the hill going east. It's
Ben Lomond, Felton?
No, it's up that road. I can't.
17?
Yeah, it's off of 17. And
Scotts Valley?
Scotts Valley, that's it, yeah. And back in those days, there was almost nothing there. He got into Ripley's, believe it or not, 5, 6, 8 times, over the years.
What year when did he start?
He started doing his trees in Santa Cruz about early 50s. And the tree circus became his way of making a living. But we wish we knew more about how he did it.
There's a great Hillhauser program on that.
Hillhauser program?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. On the trees?
I thought it was the tree circus.
Tree circus is what his daughter called it, yeah. Patrick.
Hi, Robert. A practical question. I have 8 olive trees that are unproductive, and it's a variety I don't like. Can they be topped and then a scion put on olive trees?
I think so. I've seen every kind of tree grafted, but I haven't seen commercially doing what you talk about. But I have seen commercially where they change a whole walnut grove over to a new walnut. And they graft on, they'll graft on the trunk this big around.
Yeah.
But I think you could probably do it, but experiment.
Yeah, just do one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So you do, if you want to get a jump on it, you cut it back pretty far, and then you add 4.
Keep your vase shape.
You cut it back to a stem or a trunk, and you split it, and then you put 4 sticks in, like you would a cleft graft. And then after 2 years, you pick the best one. Cut the others off.
Beautiful.
And
Robert will help
document
you.
each step of the way so we can see it.
Yeah. For a small fee, Robert will help you. Well, awesome. Any more questions? Robert, thank you so much. Really, somehow, agriculture has got into me. I'm growing apples. Robert, I've got one little thing for you to help us with. Help us with, and that would be to, first of all, our humble gift to you, speaker's gift, thank you very much. It can be used for various things. Could you please pick one of these tickets and read off the number to the expectant audience? It's our raffle.
For 50%, I'll take care of it.
No wine, we already discussed that.
33355. It's on 355.
What did I say?
Hey, John. Hey, John. All right, thank you.
That probably was mine.
I'm a winner.
Yeah, I think. PJ, have you been fine this year?
I want this?
Why not? Why not? No, I'll get to you. I'm not going to tell you when. I'm going to get to you. All right. Everyone's a winner. Ace of Clubs will get you.
The Ace of Clubs.
Oh my gosh!
How did that happen? Whoa! There are too many winners here. Did you hear that? PJ's generous gift to fire relief. I don't know. Can I give this to you?
Yeah, PJ takes the money and then go online and donate it directly.
That's what I'll do.
Good job, yay!
But you want this book. This is a beautiful book. I have this came to us by way of Charlie, Brian. Robert, thank you so much. This is what Robert's donation, so thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I don't know, someone's got to do this raffle thing other than me because I'm just doing it. Okay, Wade Clean joke of the day was to be Darling, Darling is gone. Darling gave me an excellent lawyer joke. And for reasons beyond my control, I happen to lose it. I happen to lose it, but I have another.
Have Robert sign the book.
There's no trick to being a humorist when you have the whole government working for you. Will Rogers. And what else do we got? Well, I know what else we got. And so, comes to the end, our November 28th, 2018 meeting of the Rotary Club of Sebastopol Sunrise. And Joe,